Hey everyone, welcome back to North Haverbrook. Today, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. Usually I talk about something that I find mildly interesting in a comedic sort of way, but instead, I'm going to complain about something that most of you won't care about. So instead of making another bad movie review or, God forbid, another Weezer video, I'll be talking about the music industry. No, don't click off! The music industry is pretty much known for being one of the most corrupt and shady parts of showbiz, and for a lot of good reasons. One of those factors is how hard sales are pushed. The success of your music and how high it charts is all that major labels really care about. So if your new single doesn't chart as high because it's not great or goes in a new direction, expect to be left in the dust. Since we're now in the streaming age and can access music easier than our friends' Netflix accounts, we can easily listen to a new song once, and if it doesn't impress us, we just move on to the next. So since sales and therefore charting are a lot harder to gain, most artists and labels are beginning to rely on physical sales once again. Even though CDs have gone a bit to the wayside as of late, vinyl records are rising in popularity once again, and are even beating CDs in sales. Hell, even cassettes are fairly popular. The vinyl boom, as many have called it, has made records a much more mainstream thing, with popular artists making it a priority, and independent artists essentially making a living off of them. And as you can tell, I'm no stranger to this addiction. I've been collecting vinyl for a little under 5 years now, and it's honestly been one of the most rewarding experiences in my life. Getting to go to a record store and flip through their bins, and finding an album that I've been looking for a long time, then getting home, opening and cleaning it, then placing down the needle and just spacing out for the album's time length, there's really just no other experience like it. And seeing artists embracing the medium and putting out different versions of their albums has been really cool to see as well. But even though the resurgence of physical media has been great to see, there are still many that are taking advantage of it. Since physical sales make a much larger impact compared to streaming numbers in terms of charting, artists and most of their labels see them more as an opportunity. As I mentioned before, they'll usually produce multiple variations of the albums with unique designs and colors, which may not seem all that bad, but can still have consequences. Vinyl pressing plants are much fewer and far between than they were back in the 60s and 70s, so the demand is definitely much higher than the supply. So if an independent artist wants to press their album, but another, much more mainstream artist wants theirs pressed as well, it's pretty obvious who the pressing plants will be more in favor of. I've also noticed that some artists like to promote all of their pressings as collections, namely Paramore and Olivia Rodrigo. This incentivizes fans into buying several copies of the same album by instilling FOMO within them, or the fear of missing out. This is already not great since they're taking advantage of their fans' money, but it surprisingly, or unsurprisingly, gets a lot worse from here. Bands like Coldplay and Wolf Alice have released different variations of their albums and cassettes, but have also released bundles with every variation because, if you put them together, they make a picture! Hell, Paul freaking McCartney did a similar thing with his last album, releasing a bunch of exclusive CDs with unique demos attached to each of them. There are two major occurrences that I want to focus on in this video, two that take advantage of FOMO more than anything else that I've seen in recent times. And the first one is Taylor Swift, arguably the biggest artist of the 2000s so far, is no stranger to this practice. She's pretty much known for having one of the most loyal fan bases in the world, so it makes sense that they'd do anything to support her. In 2019, when she released her album Lover, she teamed up with Target to release a few special editions of the album. There was of course a vinyl release, but the CD release was where the problem was. At Target, you could buy a special version of the album that was encased in a 94-page book that had lyrics, photos, journal entries, a poster, and 62 blank pages for your own journal entries. Under normal circumstances, this would be a pretty cool release, giving fans a cool piece of Taylor's history while also being interactive with the blank pages. But I lied to you. There wasn't just one special edition, there were 4 different books that all contained the same album. Okay, well, it's still not the worst, I suppose. I mean, at least the content within them is different minus the album itself, obviously. So, I guess it's not the worst, is what I would say if the covers weren't numbered. Yeah, so each of the 4 variants are numbered 1 through 4 and have the numbers printed on the covers and spines. This just seems really predatory. Because if your average Swiftie goes in and only buys 1 of these copies, if they keep staring at that number, they're gonna buy the other 3. For her next album, Folklore, she released like 8 different variants on vinyl and CD. Even though this does elicit FOMO to an extent, I don't think this was as bad. And then for her album Midnights from last year, she did a similar thing. she announced 4 versions of the album with different cover art, and they were only available for 1 week. It was a little strange this time around, considering that there were no singles released and we had 0 taste of the album, but other than that, it seemed to be fine. But 9 days after they were taken off of Taylor's store, they randomly appeared on there again. And not only that, Taylor released this video.
So we have 4 different covers for the Midnight's album. If you turn them over, there is obviously a back cover. But what I wanted to show you is that if you put all the back covers together, she's a clock. It's a clock. It's a clock. It makes a clock.
You've got to be kidding me. So yeah, Taylor put the exclusive, only available for 7 days variants back on the store, encouraged fans to buy all of them because it made a clock, and also put a clock for the albums up for sale. Capitalism. But guess what? We're not even done. Cut to May of this year, when a vinyl pressing plant accidentally messed up the Target version of this album. Yes, there was also a Target version. It ended up being a slightly darker purple than the normal version. So you know what they did? Special edition Love Potion Purple vinyl, only available for 48 hours. Need I say more? This is honestly pretty scummy on behalf of Taylor and her team. Like, you're branding a slightly darker, error pressing with a goddamn countdown clock. So yeah, I'm just going to end it here with talking about Taylor because this is just stupid in my eyes. And for the record, I'm not trying to make fun of any of you for collecting all the variants of these records or anything like that. There's far worse things to be mad about. I just find it pretty lame for an artist as big as Taylor Swift to be pulling something shady like this. However, there's one practice that I find to be even worse than what Taylor has pulled. And instead of this being from just one artist or a band, it's an entire business model.
There's one thing this video needs.
Yep, I'm going there. Next I'm going to be talking about K-pop groups, specifically some of the most popular ones. I just want to let you all know that I sound like a boomer during this section, so just be forewarned. Many groups like to make several editions of their albums, just like many Western groups like I talked about earlier. But one thing different from those I spoke about earlier is that many of these albums include photo cards. These are obviously cards that contain photos of groups or the individual members, and a large set of them are released with new albums released by the groups. The reason that I'm bringing these up is because that for most of these groups, the cards are completely random. So even though they release multiple versions of the same album, you're not even guaranteed to find the card that you're looking for in any of them. I have secondhand experience with this, because my little sister collects a lot of albums from K-pop artists, and she will buy multiple copies of an album hoping to get the cards that she wants, and most of the time, she doesn't even get them. So yeah, I understand that these artists are trying to get as many sales as possible to get on the charts, but come on. Do artists of this magnitude really have to push their music this hard to gain popularity? I bet if Taylor Swift released an album, didn't promote it with any singles or physical copies, she'd still get to #1 on the Billboard charts just because of how big she is as an artist. Mainly because she did it twice. So yeah, that's all I really have to say. Like I said earlier, I'm not trying to make fun of any of you for buying multiple copies of the same album. Hell, I've even done it before. I'm just trying to call this practice out because, frankly, this is all just pretty stupid. So with that being said, thank you all for watching, subscribe if you want, and... oh no.
Greetings, creator, it's you.
What did you want now?
I've been sent to inform you that you have received another strike for not complying with our guidelines.
What could I have done this time? Is it because I tweaked my content slightly, or because I dared to talk about K-pop?
No, it's because you got new glasses and didn't tell us.
Really? That's it?
That's it.
Okay, well, what are you gonna do to me now? You better not send me to Detroit. I took street smarts in high school, damn it. I know how to make my way out of there.
No, unfortunately not. We're sending you to someplace far worse. Here, make sure I'm gonna double check this for you. Ohio.
No. God, no. Please. Anywhere but there.
I'm sorry. I really am. But it must be done. Thank you for complying, and have a wonderful day.
Oh yeah, and take care.